The Corsa Sport that we're talking about here today, guys, will be an absolute premium catback option for the 2015 and 2016 5.7 Charger owners who are after a healthy amount of volume, but don't necessarily need or want the excess volume of the more aggressive systems, such as the Corsa Extreme or other category screamers. Now, the Sport that we have here on the table today will feature a premium made in the USA build, consisting of top-of-the-line 304 grade stainless steel, the included X-pipe and resonators, all for right around that $2,100 price point. But let's talk about the sound clips you guys just heard at the beginning of this video for the 5.7 Charger. And for reference sake, guys, just keep in mind that car does have stock manifolds or stock headers installed and just simply the Corsa Sport exhaust in place, and I think the sound is awesome. Again, just the right amount of bark in my humble opinion, but without being too loud or too over the top. Still holding on to that classic Corsa tone, which is a bit racy, even a bit exotic at times, and I think this system definitely sounds pretty unique. So going to my patented Wake the Neighbor scale here, guys, I'm gonna go soft 4 out of 5 on my 1 to 5 or 1 to Wake the Neighbor scale. Yes, it's an aggressive tone, no doubt, but not quite as loud or as aggressive as that Corsa Extreme, which is a no-brainer 5 out of 5, or other category screamers like I mentioned earlier. Now, inside the car, on the other hand, things are gonna remain super quiet thanks to Corsa's patented RSC technology. That stands for reflective sound cancellation, which basically eliminates any and all drone that you would maybe otherwise find with more aggressive systems. Let's step away from the sound and get more into the build quality and construction. And as I mentioned earlier here, guys, premium build throughout. You are getting a really, really nice build from the gang at Corsa. This does include, of course, the 304 grade stainless steel from tip to tip. That does include the mandrel bent tubing. You are getting the included X-pipe, as you can see right here. You also get the twin bullet style resonators before everything exits out of the Corsa mufflers. Now, you will notice this kit does not include any tips. Well, that's because the way the factory tips are kind of implemented into the factory rear bumper. So that's going to save you some money in the long run. And I would say most of the kits for this particular Gen Charger do not include tips for that exact reason. Quickly moving through our pricing segment here, guys, and I will say the Corsa systems and their premium made in the USA build will typically command a premium price tag, and the same can be said for the Corsa Sport here for your Charger. Now, this system will come in right around that $2,100 mark, give or take a bit, which will put this, I would say, easily one of the most expensive systems on the site for your 5.7 Hemi at home. But let's switch gears now and talk a little bit more about the install. And because there's really no cutting or modification needed to get the Corsa in place, the site is going to stick with a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe a couple of hours or so to complete from start to finish. But now to give you a better idea of what you're in for in the garage or driveway, let's throw it out to the guys in the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
The tools you'll need for this project are an impact gun, a ratchet, a long extension, a 13 and a 15 millimeter socket, a 13 millimeter wrench, exhaust hanger removal tool, some spray lubricant, a cloth, and the supplied anti-seize. Hi everyone, today we're installing an exhaust on our Charger, so let's get started by watching a short video on how to uninstall the stock exhaust. So the first thing we're going to want to do is use a little spray lube on the isolator behind the muffler so that we can get that hanger out of the exhaust. Now we can use our hanger removal tool and push this out. And then use our 13mm wrench to remove the 2 nuts on our exhaust flange. Now we'll remove the 2 rear hangers. One of them is right behind the wheel, and the other one is right at the end of the muffler. So we're using our 13mm socket, we'll get those taken out. Now we can remove the 2 rear hangers on the passenger side and then move up to the 2 cross members that have to come out as well. Now we'll remove the 2 cross members here and here using our 13mm socket. Now we can loosen up the 2 front clamps using our 15mm socket. Now we've got one more bolt to remove. It's right up here on the passenger side, right next to the differential. So we're going to use our 13mm wrench to get that out. And then we can go ahead and get an extra pair of hands, because we're on a lift, to go ahead and remove the rest of the exhaust. Okay, like I said earlier, since we're on a lift, I got my buddy Mark here to help me lift this out. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna lift it up off of the hook here, push it back to get it off the front pipes, and then lower it down. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do before you install anything on this system is use some of the supplied anti-seize and take all of your nuts off of your clamps, put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. That'll keep things from jamming up and ruining your clamps. Now we're not gonna put it on ours because we're not leaving it on the vehicle. But once you've got that done, then we can go ahead and first thing we'll do is install our X-pipe. So we're gonna take a couple of the clamps, put them on our X-pipe, and we're gonna put them on so that when we hang the pipe, and by the way, you want these crossbars on the X-pipe to be on the bottom, and you also want to have the straight end of this X-pipe connecting to the stock exhaust pipes left up there. So when we slide these clamps on, we're gonna wanna slide them so that the nut is facing towards the outside of the vehicle and it's going horizontal, not vertical. So we'll put them on like that. Now we'll go ahead and slip our X-pipe onto our factory pipes. All right, now we're going to take our 15mm socket and we're just going to snug these up for the moment. That way we can do final adjustment once the whole system is installed. Now when you tighten these up, you want to make sure that the clamp is at the very end of the installed pipe. Now we're going to take one of our tunnel mufflers, and the expanded end is going to go onto our X-pipe. So we'll put our clamp in a position so that it is facing down when we put this on. And we'll go ahead and snug up that clamp. with the bolt facing vertical. Now when we installed the driver's side tunnel muffler, we put the clamp with the bolt facing towards the outside of the vehicle. When we do the passenger side, we're going to do it with the bolt facing towards the center of the vehicle. And then we'll snug that up with our 15mm socket too. All right, now we're going to install our passenger side under the axle pipe. To do that, we're just going to put our clamp onto the pipe with the bolt facing towards the outside of the vehicle. And we're also going to transfer over the isolator that we brought over from the stock system. So you may find that some soap and water solution on the actual isolator will help it slide on a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead and put this in. And you want to make sure that the U part of this isolator is facing towards the back of the vehicle. And then we'll just go ahead and hang this back up on the hanger once we get the pipe installed. Now once you've got that in place, we'll reuse the original bolt just to hold it in while we're installing the rest of the system. And now we'll snug our clamp up with our 15mm socket. All right, now we're going to go ahead and transfer over our two rear isolators in the same orientation as what you took them off of the stock system. And again, the soapy water solution will be very handy in putting these back on. Now once we've got our isolators on, we'll go ahead and install our clamp. And then we'll go ahead and slide this over our under the axle pipe. All right, once we've got that in place, then we can go ahead and use our original hardware and secure our isolators back to the bottom of the car. So now using our 13mm socket and a long extension, we'll go ahead and secure the front hanger back to the car. And now we'll do the same thing for the rear. Now we'll snug up our rear clamp here. Again, with our 15mm socket. And now you can repeat this whole process for the other side. Now at this point, we've got our system completely installed, so now it's time to go ahead and double check all of your clearances, make sure your pipes are aligned properly, make sure that there's no interference with the frame or the suspension or any hoses or anything like that. Once you've got that done, go ahead and tighten everything down. Tighten all the clamps to 45 foot-pounds as per the manufacturer. And then once you've got that done, go ahead and get some rubbing alcohol and a clean cloth. Wipe down the entire system. That'll erase any grease or oil or dirt that you may have had on your hands while installing it. And that way it won't stain the exhaust once it gets up to temperature. Now, once you've got all that done, then we can go ahead and reinstall the chassis stiffening plates from the factory. And included in the kit are these spacers that go between the chassis plate and the bottom of the car itself. And then we'll go ahead and reattach the nuts and get these done. So we'll go ahead and put our spacers in place. And once you've got these in place, we'll go ahead and put it into position and go ahead and secure it with the original nuts. And then we'll go ahead and tighten these down with our 13mm socket. And now you can repeat that process for the rear stiffening brakes. And that wraps up our review and install of the Corsa Performance Sport Catback Exhaust for your 15 to 16 5.7 liter Hemi Charger. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.